Good morning, dear students. Today, in history, we are going to start a new chapter, that is Socialism in Europe and the Russian Revolution. Now, children, what is Russian Revolution? The Russian Revolution is the collective term for the series of revolution in Russia in 1905 to 1917, which destroyed the Tsarist autocracy and led to the creation of Soviet Union. Children, in this chapter we are going to study about the coming of socialism in Europe and the dramatic events that forced the ruling monarch Tsar Nicholas II to give up power. Here we will see how the ideals of socialism brought about the Russian Revolution. Children, before we start the chapter, let's see what we are going to study today. First, the age of social change, the industries and the social change, and socialism in Europe. Now, the age of social change. Children, if you remember, in our previous chapter, we have read about the powerful ideas of freedom and equality that circulated in Europe after the French Revolution. The French Revolution opened up the possibilities of creating a dramatic change in the way in which society was structured. As you have read before, the 18th century, in the 18th century, the society was broadly divided into state and order, and it was aristocracy and church which controlled economic and social power. Suddenly, after the revolution, it seemed possible to change this. In many parts of the world, including Europe and Asia, new ideas about individual rights and who control social power began to be discussed. But children, not everyone in Europe, however, wanted a complete transformation of society. Responses varied from those who accepted that some changes was necessary but wished for a gradual shift to those who wanted to restructure society radically. Some were conservatives, others were liberal or radicals. But children, what did these terms really mean in the context of the time? What separated these strands of politics and what linked them together? We must remember that these terms do not mean the same thing in all the contexts or at all the times. Now we will look briefly at some of the important political traditions of the 19th century. Now, through the revolution in the Russia, socialism became one of the most significant and powerful ideas to shape society in the 20th century. Now we will see who were liberals, radicals and conservatives. Children, one of the group which looked to change society were the liberals. They wanted a nation which tolerated all the religion. That means they wanted that the country should not discriminate among the different religions, because during that period the European states generally discriminated in favor of one religion or another. Say for example, in Austria and Spain, the nation favored the Catholic Church and Britain favored the Church of England. They were opposed to unrestricted absolute power of the monarch. That means they were against of the uncontrolled absolute powers of the dynastic rulers. They favored religious tolerance and wanted to safeguard individual rights. Children, they argued for a representative elected parliamentary government. That means they wanted the government should be a representative elected by the people. They favored a well trained judiciary and they favored a well trained judiciary that was independent of rulers and officials. That means they want the judiciary to be independent and can take independently their decisions. No ruler or no official should interfere in the decisions of the judiciary. They were not democrat and they did not favor universal adult franchise, means the right to every citizen to vote. They wanted voting right to be restricted to men of property. That means only those who have a property, only those men who have a property should be given the right to vote. They also did not want the vote for the women. Now let's see who were radicals. Children, radicals wanted a nation in which government was based on the majority of a country's population. They supported women's rights and backed the suffragette movement. Now, what is the suffragette movement? A movement to give women the right to vote. Unlike liberals, they opposed the privileges of great landlords and wealthy factory owners. They were not against the existence of private property, but disliked the concentration of a property in the hands of few. Now, conservatives, they were opposed to the radicals and liberals. After the French Revolution, conservatives had opened their minds to the need for change. In the 18th century, conservatives had been generally opposed to the ideas of change. By the 19th century, radical accepted that some changes was inevitable but believed that the past had to be respected. That means they accepted some changes but believed that the past had to be respected and change had to be brought about through a slow process. Now, children, industrial society and social change. Children, the political trends were sign of new time. It was a time of profound social and economic changes. It was a time when new cities came up and the new industrialized regions developed. Railways expanded and the industrial revolution occurred. Now, children, we will see what were the effects of industrialization in Europe or what social changes were seen in the society after industrialization. Children, industrialization brought men, women, and children to factories. Working hours were often long and wages were poor. Problem of unemployment and poverty was rare in the countryside, but this became a common phenomena with the industrialization. Unemployment was common, particularly during the time of low demand for industrial goods. Large scale migration to cities led to the housing and sanitation problem. Children, liberals and radicals searched for the solution to these issues. However, many of the liberals and radicals have their own property and were also employers. They made their wealth through the industrial trade. They believed that some effort should be promoted through which benefits would be made, and they also felt that benefits would be achieved if the workforce in the economy was wealthy and the citizens are educated. They also opposed the privileges of old aristocracy which they had by birth. They firmly believed in the values of individual efforts, labors, and enterprise. Many working men and women who wanted change in the world rallied around liberals and radical groups and parties in the early 19th century. Nationalists, liberals, and radicals wanted revolution to put an end to the kind of government established in 1815 in Europe. Children, in some countries of Europe, such as France, Italy, Germany, and Russia, they became revolutionaries and worked to overthrow the existing monarch. Now, children, once again I am repeating this industries and the social change. Listen it very carefully. This was the time of economic and social change. It was also the beginning of industrial revolution. Men, women and children were pushed into the factories for the low wages. Liberals and radicals who were factory owners felt that efforts must be encouraged so that it benefits the people. The benefits of the industrialization should pass to the workers.